March 2017, leading partwork publisher DeAgostini partnered up with the Beatles Apple Corps and Universal Music Group to launch the Beatles Vinyl Collection. The 23-album series comprised not just the core studio albums and past masters, but also the Love album, the 2 Live at the BBC sets, the Red and the Blue double albums, all 3 anthology LPs, plus the Beatles 1. Issued every 2 weeks over a period of 11 months, DeAgostini gave fans and collectors an opportunity to acquire high-quality, remastered stereo pressings, plus exclusive bonus items, without leaving the house. In this video, I'll find out if they were any good, and how they compare to the pressings in the 2012 vinyl box set, and whether or not they're worth seeking out today. I'm Andrew from Parlogram Auctions, and welcome to this review of the DeAgostini Beatles Vinyl Collection. I, like you I suspect, love getting vinyl delivered to my door. I remember back in the 1980s, the excitement when my latest History of Rock album would arrive every month, and the thrill of discovering all the wonderful music on it. Even today, there's little that beats the thrill of receiving a 12-inch packing box through the mail, containing what you hope will be a fantastic record. So it wasn't surprising that there was a great deal of interest and excitement when specialist partwork publishers DeAgostini announced in March 2017 that they would be releasing a series of 23 albums called the Beatles Vinyl Collection. Everyone knew who the Beatles were, but who were DeAgostini? DeAgostini was founded in Milan, Italy in 1901 and has since grown into a multinational company operating in 33 countries. And since 1959, they've specialised in publishing partworks. So what is a partwork? Well, it's a series of written publications, usually magazines, which are released as a series over a set period of time, either on a weekly, fortnightly or monthly basis. The completed set is designed to form a reference work on a particular topic, which in this case was the Beatles' vinyl albums. This wasn't the first vinyl partwork DeAgostini had published. They jumped on the vinyl revival train a few years earlier, with collections of jazz, blues and classical music, all of which had proved very popular. The Beatles Vinyl Collection was to be DeAgostini's 4th vinyl collection up to that point. They'd struck a deal with Apple and Universal to issue these albums as a partwork over a 1-year period, beginning in March 2017. The series was aimed not just at the hardcore Beatles collectors, but at a wider audience who'd maybe never bought a Beatles album before. They were attractively priced too. Single albums would be £16.99 each, with double and triple albums being priced at a very reasonable £24.99. Each issue comprised 1 Beatles album, which had been specially recut at Abbey Road by mastering engineer Sean McGee on their 1980s Neumann VMS 80 lathe. This was incidentally the same one which had been used to cut the vinyl which was issued in the box set in 2012. Each album was pressed on 180-gram vinyl. Not by Optimal, the German company which had pressed the discs in the European edition of the 2012 box set, but by respected French vinyl pressing company MPO. The covers would all carry the same artwork as the box set pressings, except for the small print on the rear of each cover, which indicated that the pressings were licensed to be published by DeAgostini. Each cover also carried a small silver sticker in the lower right corner of the rear panel. Each album would also be accompanied by an exclusive illustrated booklet written by Beatles historian Kevin Howlett. Advertising for the set drew you in with all the familiar tricks: buy now, pay later, cancel any time. If you chose to subscribe to the lot, you would receive a range of so-called free gifts. These were the usual uninspiring mix of cheap tat, such as a mug, a power bank, display frame, backpack, etc. And if you paid an extra £2 per issue, i.e. another £46, you would get 2 storage boxes, which were similar to that of the 2012 box set. Now, I'm not a big fan of these storage boxes. They're so heavy, and dropping one each time you want to get an album out is a real risk, and I prefer to see the album spines on my shelf. Anyway, each issue was published every 2 weeks and could be bought directly from the shops. If you were subscribed, you would receive 2 issues in one delivery every 4 weeks directly to your door. All this was open initially to the UK and Italy only, but was extended for sale in Germany, France, Spain and Japan after a few weeks. Subscriptions weren't available in the US, and fans there had to search out retailers or contacts who were able to get hold of imported copies. The set ticked a lot of boxes for collectors and offered a great value, pain-free way of obtaining a full set of Beatles albums at a reasonable price. And most enticing of all, there was a possibility of them sounding better than the discs in the 2012 box set. There were collectors who, unsure of its future collectability, hesitated, and of course some didn't bother at all. DeAgostini had clearly done their homework, and like Mobile Fidelity did with their groundbreaking MFSL audiophile pressings back in the 1980s, kicked off the series not with Please Please Me, but with Abbey Road. With a special introductory price of $9.99, this Abbey Road issue hit the shops or doormats on the 21st of January 2017. It came complete with a free binder to house the 23 booklets, along with a poster showing the entire collection. Now, as you may know, us Beatles collectors are a fussy lot, and the arrival of this first issue set some alarm bells ringing, especially for subscribers who are having them delivered to their door. The postal service in general is pretty brutal for records, and it was highly unlikely, no matter how well they were packed, that you were going to end up with a damaged record at some point. I know from the experience of mailing out the records we sell that it's one of the most important aspects of the business, so I can understand the frustration of buyers who received damaged goods and their struggles they had getting replacements. We've all got used to Amazon customer service, but sadly, DeAgostini isn't Amazon. Non-subscribers had it better earlier on, as all they had to do was go to their local shop or supermarket, where they were simply able to flick through the racks and pick out the best-looking copy. And I think that was half the fun of the collection right there. Being able to actually go out and physically pick up a new Beatles album is a huge part of the fun of collecting, that hanging around at home, anxiously waiting for the mail, just doesn't give you. Early reviews of the Abbey Road album were very positive and inspired confidence for the rest of the series. But there was a long road ahead where things could and did go wrong. Like Mobile Fidelity, DeAgostini continued their strategy of releasing the best or most popular albums first, and Sgt. Pepper appeared on February the 4th. But after that issue, their releases followed different paths. Again, sound quality reports were positive, with collectors praising its open soundstage, which some thought better than the 2012 pressing. But I'll talk about the sound quality in more detail later on in this video. However, the fact that Sgt. Pepper didn't include the gibberish on the side 2 runout was a worrying sign of lack of quality control, and worse was to come later on. The series continued apace in the following order: Help on February the 18th, The White Album on March the 4th, Rubber Soul on March the 18th, Magical Mystery Tour on April the 1st, Yellow Submarine on April the 5th, Beatles for Sale on April the 19th, and Love on May the 13th. But by this point, some of the initial excitement was turning to frustration and dissatisfaction. Anxiety due to delays, damage, or slow or no response from customer service caused some subscribers to feel that their expectations were not being met, and some chose to cancel their subscriptions. Also, the promised free gifts sometimes didn't arrive when promised, and were often broken or damaged when they did. It wasn't only subscribers who were beginning to feel let down. Non-subscribers who had been happily skipping to the stores to pick up their copies in person began to find it difficult to find even a single issue in the racks. It's a problem buyers of previous DeAgostini vinyl series had encountered too. The longer the series went on, the harder the issues were to find, because the shops just weren't stocking as many copies as they did with earlier issues. Although some of the frustrations buying from mail order can be forgiven or at least understood, what happened with the 10th album in the series certainly could not. For someone who had at length explained the care and work which had gone into mastering and cutting the Beatles albums, Abbey Road's Beatles mastering engineer, Sean McGee, had no excuses to offer when it was discovered that he had clipped off a chunk of the opening chord of A Hard Day's Night. Although it was less than 0.1 of a second, it was a huge error and ruined the most significant track of the album. Respect to him for admitting it was entirely his fault, but it really does make you question if they care about this stuff as much as we do. What do you think? The album was recut a few weeks later with an amended A2 matrix, and subscribers could apply for a replacement copy. But it left a sour taste in the mouth of those who had already invested in this product. The next album, number 11 in the series, was 1962 to 1966. This was also a disappointment to collectors, although this time it was not Mr. McGee's fault. Not so long ago, in another video on this channel, I looked at these red and blue albums and concluded that aside from the original 1973 UK issue, this 2014 pressing was easily the best sounding recent pressing of this album. One of the reasons for that was that this 2014 pressing was cut from the original analogue tapes, and is, incidentally at the time of filming, the only analogue stereo vinyl available in the Beatles album catalogue. So it was with disappointment that buyers of the DeAgostini edition learnt that the new pressing was cut not from the same analogue tapes, but from a high-res digital backup file made at the same time as the analogue mastering. The remainder of the series continued without any further major incidents, and ended on November the 25th with the final album in the series, Past Masters. So how much would you have spent if you'd signed up as a premium subscriber right at the beginning? Well, the total cost of the entire set would have set you back £515, which is $700. So with just 2,000 subscribers, DeAgostini would have grossed over £1 million, not to mention all the copies sold through the shops and newsagents. It was definitely worthwhile for DeAgostini, but was it worthwhile for collectors? As I'm not resident in the UK, I wasn't able to pick up any of these at the time. I bought this set a short time ago as one collection. Overall, it looked like a very well put together set, but I must say I was disappointed with some of the aspects of the quality of these MPO pressings. Whilst all are flat and heavy, they're not as heavy as the ones in the 2012 box set. The average weight of the vinyl in that set was 186 grams, while the discs in the DeAgostini set weigh slightly less at 175 grams each, which I guess isn't too bad. But that wasn't the main issue. The DeAgostini discs seem to mark up very easily, and there are a lot of slide marks or ghosting on the playing surfaces from careless handling and insertion into the inners, which wasn't the case with the German optimal pressings of the 2012 set. It's difficult to show on camera, but even this Abbey Road, which I unsealed for this video, had marks on it right out of the inner. But one thing is for sure, they're better than the discs pressed at Rainbow for the US 2012 box set. Again, it's simply lack of quality control, which apart from price seems to be the biggest issue with new vinyl these days. The covers, however, were well done on the DeAgostini set, and some of the front panel images were richer or certainly had more contrast than the box set issues. Some of the black and white images also differed slightly in tone. Now let's move on to sound quality and find out which, if any of these pressings, was an improvement. There aren't many better sounding albums in the Beatles catalogue than Abbey Road. The original UK 1969-2-1 cutting is a masterpiece, and whilst the DeAgostini disc didn't beat that, it's still a decent sounding pressing. However, it didn't correct the pre-echo on You Never Give Me Your Money, which was present on the 2012 pressing too, and I wouldn't call this pressing an upgrade. And it's a similar story with many of these pressings, which isn't surprising really when they were cut from the same digital source. The cuts are physically different though. This is side 2 of Please Please Me, and if you look at the first track, Love Me Do, you can clearly see the difference in groove spacing between the 2012 cut on the bottom and the 2017 cut on the top. Some of the runouts are different sizes too, proving that this set was indeed completely recut. The MPO vinyl was very quiet, and the cuts themselves seemed to be a little quieter too compared with the optimal pressings. This made some of them, such as Magical Mystery Tour for example, sound less congested, and made their low ends a little less aggressive. But overall, the audio difference between the two sets was marginal to my ears, and were largely due, I suspect, to pressing and not mastering variations. The only album which I thought had a significant upgrade in sound was Help. The sound on the DeAgostini pressing was more open and balanced compared to the 2012, and if there's one album from this set worth seeking out, I think it's this. DeAgostini followed up this set in 2018 with a similar one on Queen, and are currently in the middle of a Bob Dylan series, so it might be worth checking that out if it's available in your area. But what about you? Did you collect this set? If you did, I'd love to hear about your experiences and thoughts about it in the comments. There's clearly a lot more mileage to be had out of a vinyl series like this. If DeAgostini can get the Beatles, maybe they can get the Stones, the Hollies, the Kinks, the Who, Hendrix. What about Scott Walker, the Monkees, Strawberry Alarm Clock, the Chocolate Watch Band, the Peanut Butter Conspiracy? I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back shortly with a review of this USB thing. But that's enough for this one, so I'll say bye for now and thanks for watching.